Coming back to South Asia now, thousands of students across Bangladesh have staged anti-reservation protest after violent clashes at the Dhaka University left at least 100 people injured. The protest turned violent after police fired rubber bullets and tear gas at students who were protesting the so-called discriminatory quotas in government services. The students are angry at the government's decision to reserve 56% of civil service jobs for the families of those veterans from the 1971 War of Independence and disadvantaged groups. That leaves most university graduates to fight for only 44% of the jobs. It was one of the biggest protests faced by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in her decade in power. After the massive agitation, the government agreed to review the quota system. Classes at the Dhaka University were suspended as students occupied the main square chanting "Reform, Reform." And joining us from Dhaka, our bureau chief in Bangladesh, Saad Hamadi. Saad, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. So the first question to you is, how big were the protests? How widespread is this movement of protest as of now?
Daniela, the protest right now is concentrated just around the area where I'm staying here. This is the center at the heart of the capital, Dhaka, and very close to the Dhaka University premise. And as you can see behind me, there's a number of policemen standing guard in this place. Just yesterday, I should remind you that there have been severe clashes between students and the security forces, whereby there have been exchanges of rubber bullets and tear gas canisters, and that has resulted in a number of injuries among students, and also some of them have been detained. And all of this is happening at the backdrop of a demand that the students have made to reform the reservation for recruitment process in public services. And they are saying that the existing recruitment process has a reservation of about 56%, and that is a large number which discriminates on the common students' eligibility to enter the public services. And that is where the demand lies, and the protests are going on. This is the third day that this protest has entered. And the governor said that they would take a month's time to review the process and get back with an answer. What the students are saying is that they want a reduction, that the reservation be reduced to a certain number from the 56%.
Saad, what is the political scenario behind such a measure to reserve 56% of quotas for disadvantaged segments of the society and veterans of the 1971 war? Why it has been done?
See, in 1972, when the reservation was initially made, the idea was to accommodate the freedom fighters. As I have gathered from the teachers at the Dhaka University just this afternoon, that the idea was to really provide the freedom fighters with employment so that the country does not get into a crisis of law and order, so that they be provided jobs. And that was back in 1972. And since then, it has matured into providing the children of the freedom fighters with similar privilege in the quota system, whereby they get the preference to enter the government, the public services. But right now, what has appeared is that even the descendants, the grandchildren of the freedom fighters, are also enjoying similar privilege. And that is something that the students are not willing to really comply with when they see that the majority of the population, nearly 44%, and the larger part of the students do not have the access in the public service as a result of the reservation or the quota system. And for the government, it's a major issue because providing freedom fighters with access, it has a sentimental value as well, but it's no longer just these freedom fighters who are enjoying the privilege, but also their descendants from the children to grandchildren, and they want to curtail such privileges to a certain section of the society only.